Hello and welcome, I'm Nairy from Bossing and you're about to find out actually how much I've made from the Nightmare of Ashihama and Phosanis Nightmare fights. So I started farming the Nightmare over a year ago, back when the valuables were worth about double what they are currently. Since then I've managed to rack up over 2,000 Nightmare kills, 1,956 Nightmare of Ashihama kills, and 103 Phosanis Nightmare kills. And it's where I've made the vast majority of my money and will continue to do so into the future. I first learnt about the boss watching some of Beck's videos in his Dead Man Mode series and found out how crazy some of the prices of the items were. Back then my setup was very much an entry level setup. I only had a bludgeon and a trident of the swamp. I couldn't afford anything like a sang, Zenite, god swords. I was broke-ish. Everything was in my bludgeon, which set me back about 40 to 45 mil. As you do, I started in the mass worlds to get to grips with the mechanics, and once I managed to last around 8 kills, I started joining some 5-man free-for-all teams, as the likelihood of me actually getting a drop was much higher than when I was in a mass world. And after only 180 kills, I managed to bag myself an Eldritch Orb. Back then this was around 180 mil, and it's needless to say, I was very happy. Kind of. I mean, come on, it could have been a harmonised orb. Now I started to also get into raids and got spoon-fed a few more drops, couple T-bows, which is why my gear also looked a lot better, as a 180 mil definitely couldn't have covered all of that gear. Sangs cost around 150 mil alone back then. Anyways, only 40 kills or so later I managed to get a Nightmare Staff, buzzing. It paid for a few more small upgrades, as back then that was around 30 or 40 mil. And another 300 kills later I managed to get an Inquisitor's Helm, which is about another 220 mil in the bank. 300 more and we got our first big drop, the Inquisitor's Hauberk. This was a massive cash injection into the bank. It was another 450 mil. And what do you know, I think it was only 100 or so kills later I got another one. This time it was a split between a friend and I, so that was a cool 225 mil each. So by this time I've had around 5 drops in my name and around 900 kills. That was a 1 in 180 drop rate on average for me, far better than it should have been at around 1 in 500 for a 5-man free-for-all team. But this is where things took a turn for the worse. I went dry. Very dry for what I was used to. Compared to some of the people I've seen going for dry for over 1,500 kills, it was a drop in the ocean. But for me, it was very dry. I was dry for almost 600 kills and it was horrible. But the weight did pay off with an Inquisitor's skirt. But then I went dry again for another 500 kills. But thankfully Phosanis was released, which saved the day. And after numerous failed attempts I managed to kill the boss, and a few kills later I managed to get the sleep tablet at only KC 15. KC 62 and I got an Inquisitor's Hauberk, another 220 mil in the bank. 17 kills later and then we get the Parasitic Head, though unfortunately I still do not have the pets. And finally for our last drop, so far, another Nightmare Staff at KC 100. So what's the total? I managed to make over 1.5 bill. Doing a bit of quick maths, it works at around 7 mil an hour on average, which is very good. I consider myself very lucky, though compared to some of the comments in the last videos, it looks like there were a few others who were a bit more spooned than myself. Finally, I'll end this video by saying thanks to all of you that have watched and subscribed so far. Just over a month ago, I never would have thought for a second that I would receive such great support from all of you, so thanks again for watching. Finally, on Wednesday, Dead Man Mode is released, so if you are interested in that content, make sure to check it out. Finally, here's a few bloopers. Oh my god! What? What the fuck? I almost died.